Alright, legends, welcome along to Hellmouth Hotline. I'm your host, Rodney Stewart, and we're getting into Buffy the Vampire Slayer one more time here with a fun little episode called Beer Bad. It's the fifth episode of season 4. This one here, again, I've said it, I think probably in the last episode when we were talking about Buffy. They're taking a heck of a lot of time in this season to get into that main storyline for this season. Like usually in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you've got one overarching story throughout the season, and you get some little standalone episodes in there normally. But that seems to be all sort of standalone episodes so far. We're up to episode 5 here, and at the beginning of this, Buffy, she's still hurting a wee bit over Parker after he dumped her after the one night stand. The episode starts off, which turns out to be a daydream, but that's one of the best fight sequences to this point. Buffy fighting off vampires. But she's in class having this in her head. And yeah, Professor Walsh's class. She saves Parker's life in this little daydream, and he swears to do anything to get her back. And she's broken out of it with Willow, and she's in the class sitting beside Willow, and Dr. Walsh is talking about the idea of Freudian psychology and whatnot, so that's tying into the dream as well. And yeah, she's definitely not over this guy yet. Plain to see. She goes back into the daydream once more, and like, he's standing there with flowers and whatnot and asking for forgiveness and whatnot and all this here stuff. But yeah, in the real world, Xander has gotten a job as a bartender using his fake ID, which is sketchy looking to say the least. And he has to, like, he thinks he's all set up. He's like, he turns up on campus, and Buffy and Willow were sitting there and they're chatting away, and he comes over with a cigarette lighter, flicks it on, and how was your day, sort of thing. And he's got it on his head that he's going to be the bartender that listens to everybody's problems and whatnot and offers up this sage-like advice to people. But it doesn't turn out to be like that there. We cut to the bar, and he's can't hear a word anybody's saying. Students are insulting him left, right and centre, and he tries to test his skills with none other than Buffy, who proceeds to get drunk on Black Frost beer. Yeah, so he tells her not to leave. She's there, she's down in the dumps. She knows he's working there, so obviously coming to hang out with him and whatnot. But, you know, it's one of these really fun, like, even though for poor old Buffy in this episode, she's still all heartbroken and whatnot, but a couple of guys start to chat her up and whatnot, and, you know, you can't leave until you've had a beer. So she sits down, she has a few drinks with him. It's Black Frost beer, it's called. Oz and Willow, they're over at the Bronze together, but he feels this weird connection to this singer known as Veruca when she gets on stage with her band Shy. Now, we did see her earlier in the season. They passed each other on the grounds of the campus, and there was a bit of a look between the two of them. So in this episode, I remember exactly where this is going, but it doesn't pop up in this episode. But it brings her in, and it shows that there's some kind of weird connection between this girl Veruca and Oz. But we'll get to that later in the season. Next morning, in the dorm room, Willow not only has to cope with Veruca having called her a groupie, but also with Buffy, who seems to be suffering from Black Frost. She's hungover. That evening when Buffy again goes for more beer, drinks herself further and further into oblivion, essentially. It's revealed why somebody has. It cuts to a chemical lab somewhere, and you see all this, like, it's just like this big scientific setup and whatnot, and all this liquid going through all these tubes and whatnot, and it's dropping down onto a vat that has the name of the beer on it, the Black Frost beer. Yeah, so Xander in the bar sees her again. She's obviously drunk. She hasn't her head and her shoulders whatsoever. Xander finally cuts her off, sends her home. When the four guys that she was drinking with discover she's left, they turn a little bit violent at first, and then they kind of transform into cavemen, essentially. Xander eventually finds out that the owner of the pub has been brewing the beer as revenge for 20 years of college kids just taunting him for being a waster. We got a little look at that at the beginning of the episode. Xander had listened to it. This guy's been listening to it for 20 years, so he's has a relative, it's like a warlock, and he says it's just this here will last a couple of days, then they'll go back to normal, but it's just a little bit of revenge to teach him some manners, more or less. Yeah, these guys managed to escape onto the streets of Sunnydale, and Xander goes to Giles for help, and they go looking for Buffy, of course. Xander's like, this guy says blah blah blah, falls Giles in, and the whole thing has to last for a couple of days. But Buffy was drinking as well, so he Xander gets his knuckles rapped by Giles for letting her drink in the first place, and just giving you that there. Of course, the name of the episode, Beer Bad, is like, oh, don't drink beer, you might turn into a caveman. So it's like, yes, behave yourself, children. They find Buffy in her room, and she's drawn on the walls and craving for more beer. Meanwhile, Willow confronts Parker with what she says he's done to Buffy, and it's just like, she's heartbroken. Why the hell would you do this to my friend, sort of thing. And he starts to turn the charm on her, and she plays along for a little while, and he thinks he's going to get her into bed the way he got Buffy into bed, and then she just starts laughing, and it's like, how gullible do you think I am? And she starts to go on to a rant about how primitive men really are, and at that, these four cavemen burst into the room where they're at, knock Willow and Parker unconscious, and start a little fire in the middle of the room, just like little cavemen. That rapidly gets out of control. The whole place goes up in flames. Xander manages to catch up with Buffy, and when they see smoke, she's roaming the campus at this point, and they see smoke off in the distance. She rushes to help, but she's also under the influence of this stuff, so she's gone primeval as well. And there's a funny little sequence where you think she's starting to break through it. She comes in and she looks through the fire and she sees Willow unconscious on the ground, and you think, alright, the Slayer powers are going to overcome this beer effect. And she finds a fire extinguisher and lifts it off the wall, and she's looking at it and trying to work it out. Then she throws it over the fire and messes up completely. As I say, it's just a fun little episode. Eventually, Buffy manages to save everybody on there, including Willow and Parker. Not before she knocks him out, before she gets him out of the fire. Eventually they're all out safe at the end of the episode. These 4 guys that started the whole thing with the beer there, locked up in the back of somebody's car, and you know the Scooby Gang is trying to keep Buffy under control at this point. And Parker turns up one more time and he starts to thank Buffy for saving his life and apologises, just the way that she had dreamt at the beginning of the episode that they do in her little daydream. And just about word for word, can you forgive me? Blah, 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 I'm so sorry. Thank you for saving my life. And yeah, Buffy knocks him unconscious for a second time. Yeah, so that's where the episode finishes off at, and they just walk off into the distance at the end of the episode, and these 4 guys are sitting in the back of this random van going crazy, so it's going to be a couple of days to wear off. But a little episode about the dangers of beer and why you should not drink beer, because beer bad. Again, fun little episode. And yeah, there's a few more little things popped up in the episode as well. We had Riley making an appearance there earlier in the episode. Yeah, we got to see some more of Professor Walsh. And as I say, it's just, for some weird reason, just they haven't given away much as far as the initiative goes in the season so far. I would have thought there would have been something before episode 5, but really nothing other than the odd little undercover soldier walking about campus. But, when it comes, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, so as I've said before on the podcast, this is one of these shows that I watched. I've seen them all at one point or another. We're talking 20 plus years at this point since I actually watched the season the entire series from beginning to end. But for me, everything after season 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, when it was originally been aired on TV, I was in a different place in life, very busy, doing bits and pieces, getting married, getting a house, all that sort of stuff. And so I was just kind of ducking in and out of the series, so I never kept track of it the first time around. But for some reason, that's probably because I like the character of Angel so much. The whole story arc with him in season 2 was bloody brilliant. Whenever he lost his soul and whatnot. For me, the series never actually got to that level of season 2, in my own humble opinion, looking back on it now. As I say, 20 plus years at this point, so there's a lot of clouds in the mind whenever I start to think back over the series. So I'm enjoying getting back into it and checking it out. But that doesn't mean to say I'm not enjoying the later seasons. I'm having a lot of fun with it this time, I have to say. It's a great thing about having this little podcast here. It's just giving me the excuse to sit down and check this stuff out one more time. So I think that'll do it for this episode. A very quick little one tonight. There wasn't much happening in this episode as far as content goes, other than beer bad, and Oz is going to have a big decision on his hands very soon with this girl Veruca. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out, because I've got no memory of how that happens, but I do know what happens. Just have no memory how they get there. Anyway, that's going to do it, guys. Whatever you do, whatever you're doing, I hope you're doing it safe, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.